In this video, we're going to look at how to paint a rose and a simple flower using easy brush strokes you can practice straight away. I've used a limited palette for my flowers. I've used phthalo blue, green. Loading the brush with purple and white on either end of the brush so that they slightly blend in the middle, and the toe of the brush, which is the longest side, is where I've put my darker colours. And you can see that by swivelling the brush round and twisting, you kind of get it to go into the in between the petals. It's not an exact science, especially not with this particular brush, but it does give some nice effects. And you can see how well my brush is loaded. There's a lot of paint on there, and the paint's quite thick. Don't worry too much at this stage about the details. What we're learning to do is create and control the brush, control our brush strokes. And you can add details later or refine later. These are practice strokes. It's not, we're not creating a finished piece. We're practicing technique, flow, working out what the capabilities of the paint are. Sometimes you find that your paint's too thin, too thick. It's all about familiarising yourself with your equipment. I'm painting on sheets of A3 card, which I bought from Amazon. They're really good, actually. They don't buckle or anything, or if they buckle, it's minimal, whereas, sometimes when you buy a sketchbook, it's just not fit for the job, really. The paper's not thick enough, it's not heavy enough, but this card is really, really useful. It's A3, and it's been an absolute godsend. I've also got it in black as well. I'll do some demos on the black. And this gives me plenty of scope for practice. And there's a lot of practice goes on in the art studio. So I'm using the entire edge of the brush, as you can see there, just varying the load of paint and, whether I've got more blue on it or purple. Sometimes curving the brush. And it's really for the petals, it's place the brush, press and lift again whilst dragging. Okay, I'm showing you there that I've got two different colours on. See, for this, I don't like to make my paint too wet. I like quite a dry paint. The downside of that is it does build up in the brush bristles after a while, and your bristles start to splay out. So that's the time when you really need to step back, clean the brush, dry it off and start again. So don't be afraid to go over existing flowers with lighter tones. It all builds up the effect. You can see I've just added white and I've gone over that blue just to give some highlights. They're quite dynamic. I'm using the toe of the brush to just put some centres in the flowers. Just to give them some depth. Just gently painting with the toe of the brush. And I think the next step now needs to be to get some foliage in there. You could leave it at this and move on. I like to add the green leaves and stalks in contrast. So usually I don't wash my brush out. If it's really bad, I'll give it a wipe on a paper towel and load some green on, because I like the tonal variation that I get when the colours mix together on the brush. It just makes more interesting and varied foliage as far as I'm concerned. I'm using the toe of the brush to try and pull some thin lines for stalks. There's no rhyme or reason. They're just going in where I can fit them in or where I think they should go. Don't worry about joining them exactly at this stage. It's not, you know, the idea of this is not to create a finished piece. It's practice strokes. It's learning techniques. It's learning to control the paint, learning what the limitations are and what they're not. In one of my future videos, we're going to use a much more refined technique to create some lovely designs using very similar but a much better, thinner flat brush, so which gives us more control. This is not a particularly fantastic brush, but it's doing the job. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see some different things, brush techniques, please let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.